Preaching on the yeah.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy RumboyzRobbie, and welcome to the one and only Rumboyz Fantasy Network. This is the Goal Line Goons. Taco had to run off stream really quick, and there he is! There he is! What's up? It's your boy RumboyzRobbie. That's TDS Taco, and together we are the Goal Line Goons. Arr, arr. What's going on, bro?
Chilling, man. Hanging in there. Had a great weekend. My boy Woody showed up and delivered. You know what I mean? Felt good in some desperation. Felt great.
Yeah, Woody decided to come back and make his fantasy football presence known, as well as like honestly, a couple of players did. I mean, there's a couple of players that we're gonna talk about here throughout today's show. He has some stats. We have a stat segment towards the second half of the show that we're going to kind of get into to kind of put some things into perspective as to what the fantasy football landscape is looking like here halfway through 2025. Taco, would you believe that we are halfway through 2025, through the 2025 season, NFL season? Let me make sure I say
that. I can, because today I started looking at my schedule to the playoffs. How many more teams do I have left? Because I got one team back to 500. I got one team that's starting to really hit its stride. So, once we see that 5-2, we're like, 5-3, we're like, all right, how many more weeks they got left? How close are we to the finish line? Because we're starting to get deep, and this is the calculus we got to start doing. Who's your matchups coming up? When's your buys coming up? Who are guys that you're going to be missing in key matchups looking forward? Because I'd rather add a guy 2 weeks ahead of time than find out the week of, and next thing you know, I'm taking someone lesser.
Yep. Speaking of bye weeks, last week was pretty much the first of pretty much. There'll be like one other like major heavy like bye week. We'll have that bye-mageddon in like week 11, and then of course we have some teams, not a lot, but a few that'll be on by that first week, the playoffs. This week is more of a talent issue with bye because you're going to be missing a lot of talent. We're going to talk about that. Let's go ahead and dive right into the show, ladies and gentlemen. You are tuned in live to the Goal Line Goons. Make sure that you hit that like button. Make sure that you subscribe and you jump off into the YouTube live chat and even the Twitch live chat with your questions. We are going to start things off with the injury report. Taco, I am so sorry. I am sorry to every single fantasy manager out there as well. Cam Scatterboo out with an ankle. That was probably one of the nastier injuries that I've seen in a long time. Cam Scatterboo managers are everywhere affected. The stream got silent on Sunday when I was reacting to that game. Your thoughts on the Scat injury? Of course, you are a Giants fan.
The one thing I can say about Scat that I think we all felt like it felt like he was like, when we're in y'all remember Wolf of Wall Street? He's sitting there, one of us.
No, that's one exactly of us in the middle of the movie. That part was the beginning.
Yeah, right. When they were doing the one of us, I'm like, because that's how he felt. Like, to fantasy footballers, he was like, bro, if I was out there playing, that's exactly what I'd run every motherfucker over and just be a wild ass man. And he out there doing all this crazy shit, just got a grill. He was just at the Garden, like he was like he's everything New York loves. And to see him go down kind of like sucks.
He's definitely New York. Yeah. Like him, Dart, the creatine Caucasians, like
he's Timberland boots with fried rice and chicken wings. You know what I mean? That's what homie is. You know what I mean? He one of the white boys getting invited to cookout.
Exactly. Scat can definitely pull up to the cookout. Scat, you can definitely pull up to the podcast.
Yep.
I feel like that with this injury, like obviously this is, we wish Cam Scotty well. Healthy recovery, Scat, speedy recovery. Get after it. We know that you're gonna rehab like a motherfucker, bro. With that being said, this was an aura injury on top of the actual like physical injury that took place. I feel like it hurts the Giants like offense and aura and just like kind of like almost like locker room vibe in a way. I mean, obviously like you still have Jackson Dart there, but I mean you already were kind of like bouncing back from like the neighbors like injury, and then still kind of like had some magic there, and now it's like this one kind of just like sucks the air out of the room. So this one just hurts. Like I think we've all had those emotional fantasy moments where despite an injury we still keep a guy in the IR on the team just for like fucking moral support. I feel like Cam Scott was going to be that guy for everyone this year. Quinshon Judkins with a shoulder. Stay monitored. Stay monitored, but he could be missing some time, which could make Dylan Sampson a thing. Again, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. Saquon Barkley with a growing injury. My gosh, the battle between green and blue just, completely said, you know what, fuck your running back and fuck your running back. So fantasy managers gonna be looking around the waiver wire there at possibly Tank Bigsby, more to come. And then Alvin Kamara, a left leg injury. He was kind of already on the downtrodden, kind of going downhill. So this already was putting a situation where it was going to be the next man up. Anyways, we've been preaching it week after week. We're going to dive deep into the New Orleans backfield situation here in a couple of minutes. Taco, how do you feel about those last couple of ones? Any of those affecting you? You're muted.
The Saquon Barkley injury, while it didn't affect me, I don't think he's gonna miss any time with the way that looked. One that was interesting to me was did you see that they cut Michael Carter like yesterday, then re-signed him to the practice squad?
Then re-signed him and then came out publicly and were like, no, we're planning on actually signing him long term.
I don't even understand what's going on there, but I know that you got another week of Benson out, so Bam Knight is also another guy that we can kind of factor into this injury replacement theme. I don't think Barkley misses any time. Cam has a direct backup. I feel like that last year we saw was viable. Last year he had over 1,000 yards combined. He was pretty solid as a rookie. I do think that he's someone that I would put solid fab on. I think going down the rest of the way, he could be pretty viable. One other running back that I think that started to show some signs of life, who I was kind of hinting at last week, is Tajay Spears. That last touchdown at the end kind of saved his day. But I think we have a.
We'll get there in a minute. We'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one that caught my eye the most, though.
So yeah, but like really quick, just to kind of like wrap things up there with the injuries. That Kamara one though was super interesting. He only had 8 touches. Definitely appears banged up. So,
this is his worst season that he's put up in forever. Like this is one of those things where it might really be the end of an era. Between him kind of like making it pretty clear he doesn't want to be traded, with his production fading, with them going to be in a primetime pick position where, that second, third round, fourth round, you're pretty much going to be able to snatch up a really solid back. I just really don't see a world in where this isn't probably Kamara's last year with the Saints.
Same. Let's get into bye weeks first really quick because I did want to bring those up before we get into the waiver wire ads. I did bring up in the intro of the show that the bye weeks this week, it's more of a situation of talent, whereas last week it was just so much volume because of how many teams to where everyone, no matter what across your league, everyone was missing someone pretty much damn near. Last week was really just a fight. This week it's going to be kind of that way. We're really going to be missing some powerful pieces. We have Browns, Jets, Eagles, and Bucks all on bye. Okay. This one a little bit of a tough situation for fantasy managers here. Of course, I mean, Judkins on this actually kind of helps Judkins managers here with the buy for Cleveland Browns in that situation. But you're going to be out Fanning if you've been depending on him at the tight end position. You're going to be out Brees Hall if you've been depending on him at running back. We're going to talk about that Jet situation here in a little bit. Garrett Wilson, Mason Taylor, both at Eagles on bye. So no Hurts, no Barkley, no A.J. Brown, no Devontae Smith, no Dallas Goedert. And then for the Bucks, no Baker trying to become an MVP Mayfield. No Rashad White, no Mbuka, no Otten, but that does, kind of bode well for Bucky managers. Thoughts on the buys this week? I mean, that's a lot of talent to be missing on buy.
Yeah, I mean, we have reached buy again. Again. But I mean, I feel like these are what we call trench weeks. You know what I mean? So I feel like these buys hurt more as we continue to keep going and you get deeper in the thing, and now it's a little bit more desperate. But I do think that we can navigate any of these buys. I don't really find that one of these teams. I mean, obviously the Eagles have been Eagles and Bucks have been real equitable, but them boys need some breaks. You got Saquon who needs a break, AJ Brown needs a break, and Mbuka needs a break, Bucky needs a break. Like, everyone needs a break, bro. Even Baker just needs a week to calm down mentally, because his last game was not good. You have to now think about life without Mike Evans, who's been there the whole time that he's been there, one of the elite Hall of Fame wide receivers that we have in the game. Even at a older age, he was a stabilizing force in that offense, and a man that the commanded respect on the field, which obviously opens up things for some of the other guys. So we have to see how the team as a whole adjusts to just not having Mike Evans there, who also comes off as a leader, which sometimes we under appreciate, and we don't see it in a fantasy perspective, but we see it in a overall team perspective where he was a guy that kept everything together. So that's going to be interesting to see. I mean, this does clear up. I think Godwin should come back, I believe, after the bye, and we should be seeing Bucky probably back after the bye. So I think the Bucks, I'm really actually excited for some of these buys for these guys, because like you're saying, they'll get a week off.
Yeah, no.
We're in dog days now.
Same. I mean, I got a bunch of, from the buy that we just dealt with, I got a bunch of, Rams and, Seahawks back. I'm like, fuck yeah. Like now, we can go, we can make a push. So I kind of feel that way with this bye week, with the amount of talent that's just involved with these four teams. I want to throw this out there ahead of getting into waiver wire talk. Please, fucking please, with these types of bye weeks, people are going to make mistakes with their ad drops. Capitalize off of people's mistakes, all right?
Or the other
people are going to drop players that you're not going to expect.
Yeah.
Also, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's desperation's a motherfucker, because as we get closer to the playoffs and you need wins, there's going to be two good players that you have on your team, but you don't have a fucking tight end, or you don't have a kicker, and you're going to have to make decisions. And these are the kind of weeks where you have to kind of weigh your costs. In some leagues, it might be better to not drop anyone. In others,
also with that, really quick. Also with that, as just on like keeping on this bye week segment.
Yep.
Look for people to drop players that are on buys. Look for people willing to gamble and take that risk, because now if you have a spot to where you can grab that player and you can stash that player, you could possibly help your lineup. So I just want to make sure that I am throwing that out there. There's going to be some players here on the waiver wire that you're going to be like, well, Robbie, that person's on bye. Why am I thinking about that? Because I'm going to put some things in perspective here as we go. Drop Pat's defense for Rams or Lions. I'm looking at the Rams as a possible streaming defense this week. Just to kind of throw that out there. I mean, I was kind of gonna, save that for a little towards the end, but I mean, they're going against New Orleans. Like,
I'll be honest with you. I picked up the Rams last week in my other league and kept them on the bench for this matchup, so I didn't have to waste any kind of waiver capital. That's a prime time great matchup. I think Detroit's a good matchup, but the other one has a prime time great matchup. Again, I don't think there's any reason to trust the quarterback in the Saints. The running game has been less than impressive. And when you think about it, the only one that's putting up numbers is Olave, and he can put up numbers and still not, cost you points. So
yep.
this is just a beautiful, beautiful situation. And they've been a good defense this year. So
Good. Andre, let us get through this waiver wire, because we have a very, very deep waiver wire, and I have a lot of important key gems that I want to drop for you guys. That's a segment at the bottom half. I do have that as a segment.
And I'll tell you this, I also have BTJ. So
let's get into waiver wire top ads heading into week 9 by percentage owned. Would I rather have Garrett Wilson or Roman Dynasty? Rome. The Jets aren't taking off anytime soon, and Garrett Wilson's stuck in that situation because he chose money. Starting off with the quarterbacks. Taco, I know I have the quarterbacks on the show sheet written in a certain order, but I am going to lead off with Joe Flacco at 48%. Okay. Guys, go out there and look at Flacco. Flacco has seemed to turn the clock because he has Chase, he has Higgins, and he has Brown in that backfield. Brown is starting to look a lot better. Chase is starting to look a lot better. Higgins is fantasy relevant. The whole situation is back to looking like the Bengals, and it's looked like the Bengals could maybe possibly win enough games to stay above 500 until Burrow gets back come December. So, and that's good for fantasy, in all honesty. So I want you guys to be going out there, if you're in a quarterback situation in fantasy, or if you're chasing wins. I don't want you to be like, oh, I don't want to go and get Flacco because he's Joe Flacco. I need you guys to think about, I'm not fucking winning games right now. I need to create a spark. And if this is going to create a spark for me to go and get wins, then let me go and get wins. Thoughts on Flacco?
I think Flacco is drinking from the fountain of youth, and that, you want to get while the getting's good. If I need him on a bye week, I'm starting him. I think between Chase, Higgins, and Brown, he has 3 levels or three elite players that he can kind of rely to. Like, oh, I got Chase completely covered up, I'm going to go to Higgins. Higgins is kind of taking care of as well. That's great. I'm going to check to a run, and I'm going to let him run, because that's the other thing we have to remember. Joe Flacco is a quarterback's quarterback. You can go out to the line, read the defense, and say, hey guys, the way they're stacked up, let's audible this to a run to the inside zone. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden now, as you're getting ready to defend those guys, so I'm not only buying Joe Flacco, I'm buying the whole Bengals offense since he's come over there. They look rejuvenized. It's like you're getting a shot in the arm of Joe Burrow. Not saying that he's Joe Burrow, but the offense looks like how it would when you had Joe. The things are clicking a little bit. Your offensive line isn't the best, but they're able to get a little bit more time because they have so many weapons that make it hard for them to kind of like stack up. Like, who are you going to defend? Are you going to defend the receivers? And if you're going to defend the receivers, it's going to allow Chase to get his. So, and he catches. So all around, I'm with Flacco right now. I'm with riding that hot hand. He has some of the best weapons in the game, period. So yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, no, just to kind of, really quick close on Flacco. Yeet, I'm gonna get your question here in a second. Flacco QB 22 on the season, and that's even with rough patches from his stint with Cleveland. Since being with Cincinnati, um, my gosh, I mean, he had 27.7, 40.48, and 37.82. When I take a look here at the Colorado Springs Invitational, I mean, obviously we got a couple of bonus points and things that work out for our quarterbacks in that league, but you know, quarterback 22 and steady climbing with the resurgence in talent after having some duds while being a Cleveland Brown. I see some upside for the 40-year-old. Yeet, let's see here. I traded Chase Brown and Pollard for Nico, then traded Debo for Stevenson. Wide receivers are now London, Jefferson, and Nico. Running backs are now Judkins, Stevenson, Dowdle, Hubbard, and Jones. Thoughts? QB is May and Nix, and tight end is Kraft. I think this is a fucking baller ass squad. I think this is a baller ass squad. And I like that you're in a situation where you actually have both Dowdle and Hubbard, because should anything happen to one or the other, then one gets automatically reinserted into the lineup as the one. Right now, it's looking like that Hubbard is going to have to succeed a good portion of his carries to Dowdle, according to Coach Canales, out of Carolina. But with that being said, to answer your question, thoughts. I fucking think that's a dog ass squad. Yeah,
I
it's a
mean, when you
dog
have a
ass
QB
squad.
of May and the tight end of Knicks, and now you're running
No, his tight end is
London,
Kraft.
Jefferson, and
Nick
Nico.
is his QB2.
Oh, sorry. May and Knicks, which is two top 12 QBs, in my opinion. And you're running a top 5 tight end in Kraft. Yeah, you're cooking, bro. You're cooking.
Exactly. Yeah, those
I
those
would know.
receivers.
The only thing I would make sure is that I am cycling running backs on the waiver wire. I'm doing my best to keep myself with guys that might have that next opportunity or could get a big target share, running back share. I think you have a solid one. Judkins seems like he's safe. Stevenson, that's a little bit mixy. Aaron Jones, that's a little bit mixy. Yeah, yeah. I would go for Tracy over Bam just because I think Tracy has more long-term value. Bam is going
Yeah,
to be for about a
Tracy
week.
has the better value than Bam, because once they
Yeah,
get Vince back, they're not going to run any of the fuckers that they've been running.
yeah, or they'll get like
It,
15% of the carries, some shit like
exactly.
that.
Yeah. Getting back on track with the waiver wire, I love all of your takes there. With I love all your takes there with Flacco. Um, Leafs, I saw you kind of throw out Tyler Shock. I don't want anything to do with anything New Orleans Saints. Um, Tyler Shock has to. We need to see that for a full game before we start being like waiver wire. That's dumpster diving. And last week was your week of dumpster dive. Trevor Lawrence at 33%. Jacksonville has to take on the Raiders. If Lawrence can't go out there and put up a fantasy sustainable performance against the Raiders, we have some issues. And then I don't get how the fuck Sam Darnold is 35%. There's a shot. There's for more than a shot that you can go out there and get him. Not enough people are rostering Sam Darnold, and I honestly don't understand. Like I don't understand. Washington is injured and obliterated on both sides of the fucking ball. That secondary is not good. Darnold is going to torch Washington. JSN is on pace for 1,900, I think it was like 98 yards or like some shit like that. So y'all need to be playing Sam Darnold this week. They're gonna try and get JSN the record. That's really all that we have for the quarterbacks. I do want to get into the running backs, and we are going to start off with that situation in New Orleans. Devin Neal, 4% availability, only rostered in 4% of leagues. Sorry. quite interesting with Devin Neal. I figured that last week would have been like the week that everyone would have ran to go and get him, and that really just wasn't the case. Um, I mean, don't get me wrong, he didn't have like a great outing from like a fantasy point perspective, but with the rookie quarterback stepping in, I think that they're gonna have to lean on the running game a little bit more. And with Kamara banged up, I mean, you can't let Stafford just hold the ball for fucking 4 quarters. You're gonna have to open up the game early and keep the ball away from Stafford. The best way that you do that is to run the ball between the tackles. They're gonna have to lean on Devin Neal, especially if Kamara is banged up. I mean, I see no reason why fantasy managers. I see why fantasy managers maybe shy away because it's the Saints, but I think that that's the only justification for shying away.
This is the I call it the volume theory that says the player with the most volume tends to score the most points. That is the theory. And when you have a guy, in most cases, where you're probably getting 15-20% of the carries versus a guy that might get 75% of the carries, he's just going to have more of a shot to do something. And he may not be the best, but I mean, we've seen it on so many teams and so many sports. And this is the same theory I had with Chris Olave. And that's, paying dividends right now. How long will it last? Who knows? But it's getting me where I need to go. And that's why we keep the roster tight so that we can pivot when something happens. But much like Olave, he's trending towards, especially with the running back landscape as it is, a priority ad. Not even a speculation ad. He's a priority ad at this point. When you think about Kamara's production, when you look at his injury, when you look at Miller not being there, I think he is someone that we should be going quite hard for just on the speculation of him getting carries. Like I played Bam Knight 2 weeks ago because literally he had just taken the running back spot from Michael Carter, and the coach had said so in the beginning, and I said, "Fuck it, if he's gonna get the volume here, let's run it." Got a touchdown, put up solid points. It's kind of one of those things where you can't overthink it.
I agree. But I also do believe that there is maybe a pause for caution because, like I said, I mean it is the Saints, and we haven't really seen that team support any of these running backs at all. Like even when it was Keandre Miller, we were getting subpar performances. When he was the RB2, we were talking week after week about, hey, guys like this maybe be a guy that you can grab off of the wire.
You're right, but we're not putting him in a position to like be an immediate starter. But we are seeing in the landscape that his path to volume and relevancy has been elevated because of the injury and because of Kamara's current situation. So this is again, talent damn.
Kamara's best game this season.
Oh, he's been awful.
It was week 2 where he had 20 fantasy points against the San Francisco 49ers. Other than that, his second best game this season is 15.7 week 1 against Arizona and 15.2 against Buffalo.
I remember a couple of years ago when everyone said, "Who's this Chuba Hubbard guy? It's Carolina. They suck." Next thing you know, you're like, "Oh shit, Chuba Hubbard's taking me to my fucking finals." So again, volume is king. Everything else is
I never
speculation.
said that about Hubbard, by the way. I want to make sure that I put that out there. It's definitely interesting. I'm interested in Devin Neal and seeing where that one can go. Want to keep this thing moving. Nice. Kyle Monangai, 38%. Okay. Oof. So Monangai is interesting because the shares keep, the snap percentage keeps going up, kind of week after week. But I think that we're kind of finding that we're in a neighborhood of about 45%. And I think that that's where it's going to stay. And it's just going to become a question week in, week out of, can Monangai do anything with his production whenever he does get the rock. I'm more so out on this experiment at this point, personally.
Well, I'll say this: last week he didn't do the best. The week before he did pretty good, but we know that. And just pulling up the stats here. Last week he had 7 rush attempts for 24 yards.
He averages 7. He averages 7 attempts. 7 attempts is his highest attempts this season.
The
is 13.
week before that versus New Orleans, though, he did have 13 rush attempts for 81 yards and 2 catches.
That's because it was New Orleans. It's fucking New Orleans.
True, but what we're also looking at is that we have Swift playing through a couple of injuries, including a groin that he's been game time calls for the last couple of weeks, where again, it's a situation that it could end up being nothing, and he could never like miss any time, and he ends up playing and managing the injury well enough that he can go. But there's also a chance that he can hurt or rupture something more. And I think that
Swift,
he's not a starter, but he's a stash still. He's still a stash.
If you're DeAndre Swift, you're playing through any and all pain, especially when you know that your coach has already sent you out once before and shipped you out once before.
Twice.
Yeah. Well, no, it was once. It was just a Detroit. But this could make another time. So if I'm DeAndre Swift, that's just my thought process. But yeah, with the Monangai experiment, I'm just not this season, not yet.
Yeah, I don't know if not this season, but not yet, I think is the key one. And again, he's a high quality stash.
Let's see here. Tyrone Tracy, 45%. Now, Taco, you kind of already started mentioning Tracy earlier, so I'll kind of just let you continue to embellish. I mean, you brought up the fact that he was a 1,000-yard rusher last year. Continue.
Yeah, and the thing about Tracy that I really like is that he's a converted receiver, so that that he has the ability to catch some passes. I truly think that last year when you look at it, he had I'll pull it up. He had 192 rushing attempts for 839 yards and 5 touchdowns, and 38 catches for 284 yards and a touchdown. He only lost 2 fumbles. He had 38 catches on 53 targets. What that means to me is that he's going to be used potentially in the passing game. What that means to me is that he's able to get some rushing yards and some rushing touchdowns. And what it means to me is that we've seen him be successful already. And now this is just an opportunity for him to really end the season on a high note and be able to, I would say, make himself very well liked by the fantasy community. Because when you look at where he ended last year for fantasy points, it wasn't terrible. It was, I would say, like a wide receiver, running back 3. If you're getting that off the waiver wire at this point in time, I don't think that's terrible. And with this new look offense, you might have an opportunity to do a little bit more.
Tyrone Tracy is interesting. It's definitely one of those the curious case of Tyrone Tracy. I feel like I am partially in on the Tyrone Tracy experiment, as fantasy managers are pretty much forced, so to speak, to have to move on here. I know that it is a bittersweet kind of moment for fantasy managers. I don't think that you're going to get the same production as you would have had it been a Cam Scatterboo. You just have to hope that the floor is going to be safe enough to be able to just, and the rest of your fantasy roster is constructed well enough to where they all go out there and put points. For the most part, last year Tyrone Tracy had double-digit games, and I feel like in the 2025 landscape, I mean, that's all that you can really hope for and all that you can really wish for, as you kind of head into the rest of the season and you have to hold the piece of that backfield and probably replace Scadaboo. He had a couple of games last year, even with a not so great offensive line, where he still had, 20, 15 plus fantasy points, some 16 plus games. So
I think
that's
he
kind of
was
what you're hoping for.
28 on the season. He was 28 on the season as far as running backs, or 26. So he's close to an RB
He has
two.
some burn. Yeah, he has some burn. He has some
Yep.
familiarity.
And you also have to factor in that Singletary to start the year was the primary ball carrier, and Tracy
Yeah.
really didn't take over till the midway point, I feel like. So it wasn't even like he was getting full all the way. So, it's an interesting play. This again goes back to the volume theory. And that's what I'm going to call it. The volume theory.
Tank Bigsby, 20% available. I'm just gonna say that this is more so like the handcuff grab if I have Saquon Barkley. I don't think that with the Eagles on bye, that other fantasy managers, and if I'm the Barkley manager, I know that the rest of my league is likely going to overlook him, and it's easy for me to be able to, go ahead and grab him. So for me personally, Bigsby is interesting because it's really just a situation of being an injury away. Of course, the growing to Barkley is not likely to be too crazy. The Eagles have a bye. We'll learn more about it as it goes. It's not serious from what reports are right now. I say if you're the Barkley manager, just have yourself prepared and get Bigsby right now while you can on bye, because this is when the players are on bye, it's the cheapest that they're going to be. A lot of running backs. Tajay Spears, Taco, you've had a little bit of an affinity for Tajay Spears. I'm not a fan of Tajay Spears.
Well, I mean, when you look at, I hate to keep using the same term here, but volume theory.
He had a great week last week. He had a 19.
I started it. You know what's crazy? I actually started him in the league last week.
Oh, a lot of people were forced to. A lot of people were forced to.
So he had 9 rushing attempts for 59 yards and a touchdown, and three targets for 3 catches and 23 yards. I would say that it's going to be a timeshare between the two of them. I don't really think that either one of them is going to get full burn until someone goes down. But in this
I disagree.
Really?
I disagree. Okay. Tajay Spears.
Ooh!
They are likely going to run Tajay Spears the rest of the season, because at least until trade deadline, because Pollard is listed as a trade asset right now. Same thing with another running back in a situation that we're going to talk about for another team that sucks here in a little bit. So might be looking at, trying to roster Tajay Spears. If he's available, if he's available.
Yeah, it makes sense. And again, the theory here is right now he's playing to like a 50-50 timeshare. He's looking like the slightly better back. In this kind of a situation, he's a tough play, but in an emergency situation, you could run it because, again, there's a lot of opportunity. But however, in game theory, you can add in the trade. You can add in potential injury. You can add in him losing his job. Like, there's a couple of outs here for Tajay Spears to go to full RB1 on the team status.
What up, Jamie?
I think that's something that we got to play for. That's something that we kind of build our rosters, kind of thinking a couple of weeks ahead and kind of looking at the pieces on the board saying, they might trade this motherfucker, or by the end of the season, he might just not be playing because they're like, we're done from you. We'd rather see what Spears have. And you're just now like the complimentary back. because you're not really looking that good so far this season for Tony Pollard.
So that now leads us into another player in a similar situation. By the way, Jamie, lyric video will be coming soon. It'll be dope. You're gonna enjoy it. It's gonna be pretty dope. Isaiah Davis. He's only rostered in 10% of leagues. That might be a little bit higher now, because I wrote this show sheet last night. But Isaiah Davis is like super intriguing to me with this whole like Breece Hall possibly getting traded narrative. Again, he posted up a 19.9 fantasy week. The Jets are seeming to be in a position to do whatever it takes to get a spark at any and all costs. It's sounding like that Breece Hall. We've been hearing Breece Hall's going to get traded. Breece Hall's going to get traded. Breece Hall's going to get traded for fucking ever now. At a certain point, you got to kind of start to believe that Breece Hall's going to get traded. I would be willing to go and add Isaiah Davis as a fuck around and find out piece before the NFL gets into their trade deadline. I'd like to already have him on my team. And if I have a nobody that I can just drop, well, then I'm willing to do it. So hey. Hey, the song is a banger. Taco, did you put this?
He was saying, I'm trying to Yeet. He says, I'll grab Benson off the wire. Waivers.
I thought he said Tracy or Bam, and I told him Tracy.
And then right after that, he says, I'll grab
Benson. Yeah. Someone dropped K-Dot in one of my leagues. Yeah, but you're already in a really good tight end situation. Dylan Sampson could be a interesting grab. I want to see how things kind of pan out. With it first, Dylan Sampson out of all of these running backs is probably the least likely. Judkins is considered day-to-day right now.
And they play
after
for the
already. What's that?
That's it. And they play for the Browns.
Exactly.
This is the one place where I go, volume theory may not work.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. Sorry, Jamie. Moving on. Bam Knight. Bam Knight. I don't trust that situation. I don't want anything to do with the cardiac cards.
It is a last dance. Like, we'll play some Drake and I need a one girl. We're gonna have that nice basement house party vibe. We're gonna sip on some rum. We're gonna put him in our lineup, and we're gonna know that next week we're gonna ball out with Benson.
Sounds like
it ain't lasting much longer.
Party that you just described. Should I pick up Tracy and waivers? Yes. I would have to give up BTJ, Metcalf, or Drake May, all backups for me right now. This is a 6-man league. You're not dropping anyone. You don't need to do an ad drop in a 6-man league.
I mean, unless you have no running backs, but I doubt you that. You're talking about
there ain't no way he has no running back.
I don't like BTJ. I wouldn't drop him here because he could be traded. He could be. There's so many. We'll talk about BTG later.
Like, I can't help. I mean, like I want a 6-man. You have everyone available, bro. You can pick the who's who. I'll tell you what. In your 6-man, Chase Brown is a hot hand right now. Chase Brown on the up and up. Let's get into these receivers. These receivers, I don't really like many of the waiver wire wide receivers. This is actually I love the running backs this week and even the quarterback situations. I fucking hate the wide receivers this week outside of like 2 of them. Another question off of waivers rest of the season. Ingram, Njoku, or Juwan Johnson for a bench tight end. I probably would go. Juwan's balling.
Is he?
Juwan's been having a fucking year. That's also
if you ask me,
he's tight in 11. Juwan's tight in 11. There's just so many mouths to feed in Denver for the tight end.
In my heart, I want to say Ingram, but I think Robbie might be right that Juwan Johnson might be the safer play there, just because of quote unquote volume theory. Like, it's just too many mouths to feed, like he said, in Denver, where it's a lot harder for him to be consistent. Whereas with Juwan Jennings, between him and Olave, you really don't have many. Juwan Johnson. We don't have that many other options. So volume theory prevails.
Want to get into our wide receivers, okay? So I'm just going to start off with the first one that I do like, because the other one that I do is like I kind of have them buried down the list like for a reason, so I have something to get excited about. Keyshawn Boutte, 30%. Look, at the level that Drake May is playing right now, I just want a piece of the offense on my lineup. And I don't care if that piece is on my bench. It doesn't necessarily have to be a starting piece. But I also don't want league mates to have any piece. So you know what? I'm going to fucking just keep a nice little sweet space for Keyshawn Boutte. With bye weeks and everything that are going on, when I just need to, you know what? Set it and forget it and throw a receiver in, and I need to dart throw somebody, I'm going to dart throw Keyshawn Boutte for the rest of the season and be like, for whenever I have bye weeks, and I'll be like, you know what? Fuck it.
Man, listen, Boutte was someone that we talked about early. At this point in the season, I think he's starting to show some of the promise that we had talked about earlier in the year. And seemingly he is taking the place that Diggs took for a little bit. It's like Diggs had like a solid couple weeks, and then after that, Boutte kind of like took, I would say, a solid spot. Let me just reference my numbers here, so I'm not talking about thin air.
Honestly, no. I mean, the last 3 weeks, I mean, obviously against New Orleans, everyone picks on New Orleans, you know, so like every player is going to have big numbers against New Orleans. But I mean, the last 2 weeks, I mean, against Tennessee, 13.5, Cleveland, 16.5. You know, they have it Atlanta this week. They're going to dog Atlanta.
And then let's just look at one other thing. Let's look at Stephon. If we look at Stephon,
yeah, you're good, Blake. You're perfect, Blake.
The week before New Orleans, he popped off. The 2 weeks before New Orleans, he popped off. Since then, he's been serviceable, which is even better. The fact that he has been serviceable and Boutte is still getting his is kind of trending towards a very nice situation for Boutte to be a consistent guy in your lineup.
Yeah.
Not just on your roster, but in your lineup.
Exactly. No, Keyshawn Boutte is he's tearing the fuck up, and he's representing wide receiver ULSU, you know, in the NFL, pretty damn well.
Crazy, but we've been talking about him since week 2, so no reason to be out on him now,
bro. Boutier's been an on and off one, and then Troy Franklin have been an on and off ones on like these waiver wire shows. I'm like, you know, at this point, they're gonna be my I have a bye week, I'm putting them in.
Yep. You know,
I have player X on bye, and you're not on bye, you go in.
it's just one of those situations of, their talent and potential supersedes
The
a
boom
lot of
bust
other
is just
situations.
the boom bust is just like, like I fuck with it. I fuck with it. I fuck with it. Like, you get to live a little dangerously when you put them in your lineup.
Yeah, yeah. Or
Malik
if you pick
Washington,
it out right.
but Malik Washington, um, I'm not as high. I'm not as high. It's just because it's a Miami situation. Like, I don't give a fuck that I don't care that Tua had a good week this week. I genuinely do not care that Tua had a good week this week. So that's kind of my take on a dart throw on Malik Washington waiver wire. It wouldn't be a priority receiver that I would go and grab. I'm not attracted to the situation.
I was pulled to him early, but it became very wishy-washy, and I really didn't like holding him because between Waller and between Waddle, someone was always getting the volume, and when we look at him, he has since week 4, 4, 4, 6, 8, 13.
Yeah, it's the 13 is just like
When
a
I look
weird
at
anomaly to me. It's just like like, I get it. Tua was playing with pink eye. Somebody shit on Tua's pillow, and he still went out there and balled. You balled against Atlanta.
So check this out. This week they play Baltimore. Then it's Buffalo, Washington, and then bye. Week 13 through 17, it's New Orleans, Jets, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Tampa. I'm not mad at stashing him. I'm
not putting myself through it. There's
There's also a world where Waddle gets traded.
If I want to deal with pain, there's other things that I could do to my roster, and that's not one. Chamari Dyke, 5%. I guess there's no more Ayo in Tennessee. That's like kind of like a afterthought for Ward, and now Dyke's the new hotness. It's Tennessee. I don't think that I still want it. I mean, back to back weeks of 16, by the way, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Calvin will eventually. Yeah.
Alec to me is kind of like not producing nearly enough to keep him on your roster when you have guys like Dyke that are just showing up and showing out. Last week I had that feeling that Dyke was going to be the guy, and seemingly he's trending, I feel like, more towards the most viable receiver in this Tennessee offense.
I think that it's just a matter of Ridley having been out. In all honesty, that it's
Ridley's
just a
been
product
trash,
of that.
though. Ridley's been trash, and this guy had 4 catches for 70 yards, and then he had 7 catches for 93 yards on 8 targets. I'm just analytically
in a system where they're trying to figure it out. I see where he
Yeah.
could rear
Yeah.
in like kind of
like from a pure analytics standpoint, yeah, I'd be willing to add him and stash him. I don't necessarily think I'd have to start him unless I'm desperate. In a game versus the Chargers, I could see them.
I'm not going after Dyke when I have Troy Franklin, who's only 38% rostered. When I have Boudier, who's only 30% rostered, and when I have Alec Pierce, who's only 28% rostered, all on more high-powered offenses. I'm not going for Dyke for Chamari Dyke.
To me, I think I might like Dyke more than Troy because of what you were saying earlier. Troy is in an offense that every week is going to be more boom or bust. I see Dyke as
Troy
not
Franklin's
having as
wide
much
receiver
top end
24 on the
upside,
year.
but he might be consistent.
Troy Franklin's wide receiver 24 on the year. I want the better. I would rather take the boomer bust over Tremere Dyke, who is going to get buried in the depth chart.
But look at it like this. Troy Franklin's best 2 weeks were 24 and 26. Other than that, he has 8, 2, 9, 5, 8, 3, 12, 20. Like,
I will
you know,
still take the boomer bust over. I'm not. Tremere Dyke's going to get dropped.
Catches last week.
You did it, huh? You did this with Justin Fields, and then what happened the very next week?
No,
You're gonna curse
agree,
this
but
young
Justin
man.
Fields is still putting up
Should I
QB1
drop
numbers.
Ridley for a defense this week, or should I? I mean, if
I
you
would
have
drop
the IR spot, put him on the IR, of course, Ezekiel. But if you don't have the IR spot and you have someone of more importance already in that IR spot, Ridley can fucking go. Any Tennessee Titan can go off your lineup.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie. I don't mind Dyke.
Landy, I'm gonna read your question from the chat. Hey man, traded Henry and Buka, Swift, and Warren for Bijan, JSN, Debo, and Walker. My team is now Daniels, Gibbs, Bijan, JSN, London, Kittle, Walker, Debo, Bench, Flacco, Hampton, Dobbins, Wilson, and Hunter. Did I save my 5-3 season? My 5-3 season. So first things first, you were 5-3. So it's not like things were like getting out of reach or like getting too crazy. Let's see here. So you traded Derrick Henry, which I'm in agreement with. You traded Buka, but you brought back JSN, so that those two cancel each other out. You ended up getting Bijan, so it doesn't matter getting rid of Henry, and it damn sure doesn't fucking matter getting rid of Swift. I mean, and then you also brought back Kenneth Walker, so like Kenneth Walker and Swift cancel each other out. Bijan's an upgrade over Derrick Henry. You got rid of Tyler Warren. Honestly, you're fine. Like you pretty much all you did was just rebalance the team. I mean, the team that you had before was justifiable of being 5-3. The team that you have now is justifiable being 5-3. You know, I won't like yes, you saved it. You had a playoff team. You still have a playoff team. Troy only works when Sutton is getting covered. Dallas went all out on and Franklin emerged. He emerges when that happens often, when teams just sell out for one. To wrap up wide receivers, Jalen Noel, 2% rostered.
Started him in the league.
How do you feel about Jalen Noel? The chat the week before or like the night before it was like the morning of, they're like start Jalen Noel, put him in DFS.
Yep. I played him too. I mean, again, it's you're down Kirk, you're down Nico. You gotta throw the ball.
But Xavier Hutchinson ended up being the one. It ended up being Hutchinson that was the one.
I think they both were solid. Like, you know, when you talk about a dart throw, like it's not like he was bad.
I have a theory that whenever the Texans get in dire straits with wide receiver injuries, Xavier Hutchinson is the one to roster on those weeks.
I don't necessarily disagree, but
what else?
I mean, Jalen Noel did have 6 targets, 5 catches, 63 yards. He didn't get the touchdown, but if he would have got the touchdown, shit would have popped off. I think they're both viable. You know,
I see a situation where whenever it's Nico out and we're dealing with these 3, it can be a who's who, and I'm not sure that I'm willing to commit to that.
Yes, but
You're not going to get every week against San Fran. I'm sorry, Denver's not going to have Patrick Surtain out there. They're their best corner, but that defense is still going to be pretty damn solid.
I don't disagree with you, but I do think that like even when you look at Jaden Huggins, he had 8 targets, 4 catches, 34 yards, and a touchdown. Like
How the
I
fuck do
agree
you
with you.
pronounce T. Higgins, and you pronounce Jaden Huggins?
Jaden Higgins, sorry. But like they're all like none of them are Nico. Like
They're all young. They're all young.
It's a lotto
They're-
ticket. It's
yeah,
a scratch off. I think
exactly.
they all can, like any one of them any week can pop off and get the touchdown and be the one.
I don't want my fantasy team to have a scratch off
It,
like
it,
player. I
it,
don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
if I could avoid it, I would.
Yeah.
Much like you would, but in desperation, desperate men gotta make desperate plays, and it's gonna be desperate season soon because if you're not first on the waiver, you're gonna have to add someone.
Start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. J-Mo, Kamara, Shakir, Diggs, Bourne. Kamara's not getting started because he's been asked, like we were just discussing.
Shakir, definitely.
Yeah.
I guess Shakir, J-Mo, and probably Diggs.
I feel like it's got
Bourne. I'm not sure about this.
I feel like I'd rather go Bourne, J-Mo, and Shakir.
Last week, I know that Ricky Pearsall was practicing somewhat, and in my hope, I believe, and this is my hope, he plays this week after him having some momentum last week.
God damn it.
I don't know how else to phrase it, but I have a feeling Ricky's back this week.
I don't know. As long as Mac is quarterback, I'm always willing to throw Bourne into the lineup.
I think Purdy's back.
Let me
too.
rattle off these tight ends really quick. Juwan Johnson, we just kind of brought him up earlier. 32% available in leagues. He's tight end 11. Go. Feel free to go get him if you're having tight end troubles, or if you just need a solid backup. If you're not trusting your backup situation. Rondé Gatson, look, I know that he is 62% rostered, but just kind of scroll around and look around, fuck around and find out. Gatson's going to be balling. Like, he's been balling. Don't get mad when the week happens. Like he doesn't. Don't worry, he'll just get back on track. Defenses are going to adjust, but he'll still ball out. And then Colson Loveland, 5%. The Bears are kind of starting to figure out like the tight end and starting to kind of figure out how to play offense. Like they still kind of do this weird thing where like it's kind of still the Bears. It's weird. I don't know what the Bears are 50-50. They're a coin flip every single week. But I would gladly go and get either of the other 2 names that I just mentioned. Really quick, top priority for quarterback, Joe Flacco. Top priority for running back, Tyrone Tracy. Top priority for wide receiver, it could either be Boudier or Troy Franklin or Alec Pierce. You can go any which ways. High power offenses. And then top priority, look, if Gadsden's available, you can go and look, but Juwan Johnson at tight end. I want to throw out some fantasy football hold my beer stats, okay? These are some stats to where I'll go through kind of position by position, and you may be shocked by some of these things, but this is just to kind of lay out the landscape of the fantasy football landscape. Hang on. I might trade Jamar Chase and Travis Hunter for James Cook and Javonte Williams. Is that a good trade? If you're needing the running back help, absolutely. Absolutely. But you better make sure that your receivers are damn good because you're going to be getting rid of 2 receivers. So you better make sure that you have receivers on receivers, especially if you're getting rid of Jamar Chase. I would hope that that's a luxury for you. Like, what is your running back situation like that you have to do that? I have Pittman and Ladd, okay. But what's your running back position like? Swoopy's like, I would take that trade. I'm dead. I'm dead. Like, I like the trade. I mean, because that it essentially takes a Jamar Chase to bring back Cook and Williams. You have Brees and Jacobs. You don't have to do the trade. The thing is, you don't have to do the trade. Why not just give him Travis Hunter and Brees for Javonte Williams? Keep Jacobs, and now you have Javonte Williams, and just upgrade your RB2. And then keep Jamar Chase. Yeah, just give him Travis Hunter and Brees, and just bring back Williams. Give him a 2-for-1. I know Jamar is him, but QB can go shitty every other week. I mean, it's Flacco. It is Flacco, but Chase is also on the up and up right now. Want to go ahead and get into some fancy, like, these are some what the fuck. Like what the fuck. So in week 8, we had 3 top 12 QBs on a bye. 2 top 12 QBs finished. Bless you. 2 top 12 QBs finished QB 18 or lower. Okay. So it was a rough week for quarterback play. Tua has 11 touchdowns on the year. The Miami offense was ranked 29th in passing TDs heading into the game against Atlanta. Atlanta allowed the 8th fewest passing touchdowns prior to that. Tua fucking had 4 touchdowns. All right. He did that shit with pink eye. Let's just throw that out there. Somebody shitted on his pillow and suddenly he got better. I don't know. Wild stuff. Baker Mayfield was outscored by quarterbacks that didn't even start a whole game. Joe Milton, Tyler Shock. You got outscored by the Dallas Cowboys backup and the New Orleans backup. Okay. And Carson Wentz is not going to be the quarterback for Minnesota moving forward. It is going to be J.J. McCarthy. Interested to see, how that's going to be. He was outscored, or I'm sorry, Carson Wentz, even with that bum-ass shoulder, outscored Dak, who was supposed to be a top 3 quarterback heading into the week.
Man, I was saying this before. Dak is hard because, yes, he can go off with his arm, but he doesn't run enough to have that solid floor. So, yes, he's going to have some big weeks where he throws for 300 and has three TD passes. But then he has weeks like this where it's just like, bro, what the fuck?
I'm willing to go to the extent of, Dallas is facing a team that's above 500. I'm not starting Dak. Well, I'm willing to start taking that approach.
I think it'd be more of a do I see it as a shootout? Like, if I think the game is going to be a shootout where they're going to have to score and Dak is going to have to, like, drop back and pass a lot, then I'm going to do it. If I think
but you also have to, but then at that point, you would have to. I think that technique works when you know definitively what the identity is of 2 teams. With Dallas, we know that they can put up points, and we know that they could be high scoring. We know that often comes against they do that when they're playing not great teams or teams that are like they don't do that against the upper echelon teams.
He put up 32 versus Green Bay. He put up 26 versus Washington.
Green Bay has been subpar as fuck.
I mean, when you look
the
at
Green Bay that we got in the first 2 weeks and the Green Bay that we have gotten from week 3 on are two totally different teams.
Denver is an elite defense. Philly is an elite defense. That's the only 2 teams that he's been under 14 with. Other than that, he's been a really good producer. But again, this is just, in my opinion, a thing of not being able to rush. He had the 2 interceptions. He had 31 rushing yards, his most rushing yards on the season. But he only threw for 188 yards and no touchdown. Coming up, I mean, he has Arizona, who he should do decent versus. Las Vegas, who should do decent versus. Philly, KC,
No.
Detroit could get interesting. Minnesota Chargers.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
You know, it'll be interesting to see how this works out for Dak. I think it's you take it on the chin and you probably keep him in the game.
Running back stats. Okay. From week 8. 6 of the top 20 running backs were on bye. Only 8 of the top 20 running backs finished in the top 20 in week 8. Bijan and CMC had both had seven games over 10 fantasy points. Both were held to less than 9 fantasy points this past week. 2 of top 15 running backs suffered injuries and unfortunately were not able to finish the game. We lost Scat and Judkins. 9 backup running backs finished inside the top 40 on the week. RJ Harvey, Samaje Perine, Tajay Spears, Isaiah Davis, Ollie Gordon, Woody Marks, Tank Bigsby, Sean Tucker, Tyler Algier. Wide receiver, 5 of the top 24 wide receivers were on bye. Only 7 top 24 wide receivers scored at least 10 fantasy points overall. Scored 10 fantasy points over the overall wide receiver 10. This is the first time in Quentin Johnston's career where he finished with 1 target and no receptions. It's never happened. Guys like Troy Franklin, who was basically, for the most part, wide receiver 1 on the week, depending on your league settings, had 5 finishes outside of the top 40 prior to last week. So just random shit happening. Emeka Mbuka has 3 straight games with less than 8 fantasy points, and he's still wide receiver 6 on the year. 9 wide receivers that finished in the top 24 this week came into the season outside the top 57 at the position. Rough fucking week. Taco, did you have a fun National Tight Ends Day?
Well, I had Drake London pull out on me at the end, so I had to start Dallas Goedert, who scored 2, and people got mad at me because when he scored, I was like, yes. It's like, oh fuck, I'm a Giants fan.
So you had to throw a tight end into your flex where Drake London was supposed to be? Damn.
Yep.
It was a pretty okay National Tight Ends Day, unless you had to deal with any of this. 2 of the top 12 tight ends were on bye. The tight end 1 overall, Jake Ferguson, had just 1 target and 0 receptions.
That was beautiful.
The tight end 2, Tyler Warren, had his worst game since week 3 in a game that Indy scored 38 points.
I started him. I didn't feel that bad.
Oronde Gadsden didn't play week 1 or 2 He only has 2 games all year with 10 plus fantasy points, and he is still the tight end 9 overall on the season.
He had a big game. And what's crazy is that, Herbert missed Johnston on like a would-be touchdown and kept feeding the ball. So it'd be interesting to see what happens.
You ready for some random names here? You had guys like Gunnar Helm and Charlie Colzar outscore guys like Dalton Kincaid, Dalton Schultz, Mark Andrews, Evan Ingram, and Cade Otton.
Yeah. Sounds like fantasy football to you.
Fucking wild.
Yep.
You been hearing about this BTJ rumor?
Him being traded?
Yes. Well, let's take Marcus's
hearing that
question
for a
real
while.
quick, and then we'll go into the BTJ rumor. 6-2, 12-man, full PPR. QB is May and Love. Running backs Achan, Bucky, Henry, Woody. Wide receivers JSN, Amon Ra, Shaheed. Tight ends Kittle and Fannin. Trade ideas for playoffs. You're 6-2. I don't know if I want you unloading and making anyone better, if that makes sense. You're 6-2 for a fucking reason. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Don't get cute.
Nope.
As the homie
You're
Mike
deep across the
would
board.
say.
Like JSN and Amon, Bucky and A-Chain, me and Love, you're deep, bro. Like,
Yeah,
would I like a better tight end? Yes, but I'm not trading anything for it.
I'm not doing, I'm not, no. Is you the way that your team is built, it's one of those where if something positive, net positive pops up on the waiver wire, then you can make moves, but otherwise you're sitting back and you're enjoying wins.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Really quick, yeah. So thoughts on the BTJ trade rumor situation, bro.
I mean, I think that it'd be great for Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter then definitely becomes someone that's viable. I think that when you look at BTJ as a whole, it could unlock him because we saw how much better he was with Mac Jones at the end the second half of last year compared to being with Trevor Lawrence. So I think you would have hope in BTG's case that our BTJ is that him and Trevor just really probably hate each other, and he must have done something wrong or said something to his mama or something, because it is like Sunshine ain't got no love for BTJ, and that shit's affecting my fantasy team. So if I could trade BTJ because someone thinks that he might be traded and that's good for him, I'm doing it. Everyone should be trading BTJ. I think there's some teams that he could be good on. Like if I'm a Giant, I would love to see him come over here with Dart. Like we need a number one. I'm pretty sure there's some other teams across the league that could need another wide receiver and make a move on him. So I think all around, it's best for a breakup at this point in time. For the Jags, it gets them to be more viable. From the BTJ, you get a fresh new chance to do something. But together, I think right now this relationship is getting toxic.
I see where the relationship is starting to kind of fracture. I mean, hell, like if I'm a player and I just hear, regardless of organization or team, if I'm a player and I start hearing in media that, I'm a trade target, I'm a trade candidate, that does kind of, create a sour taste in the locker room. I don't know if it's necessarily good for Jacksonville. I agree that yes, it may be good for Travis Hunter because now it forces it to where, okay, now we have to now use Travis Hunter a little bit more, but also the remaining pieces that would then be around, I don't think can supplement, can attract enough attention to allow, Hunter to really, kind of flourish and be the one. maybe trying to force it maybe a little bit too soon. I think it's maybe still a little too soon to be trading BTJ if I'm the Jags. So I don't know. I don't think that it gets done this season, but I do see that eventually a breakup will happen between the two parties. I know that they were floating around potential of BTJ to Washington. That'll be fucking wild. That would be wild to reunite with Jaden because they played together at LSU, but I don't see it happening. I think that at this point it's just blog talk. Jason has, I don't know if this is one question or what. He has a series of comments here. Should I drop AO for a handcuff? Tank, Singletary, Sampson, Wilson, P. Ryan, Gordon, or receivers like Dyke, Malik, Watson? I mean, I already made a joke earlier that hey, if it's Tennessee, you can kind of go and drop it. You can kind of get rid of them. If the prime target on the waiver wire this week for me is Tyrone Tracy.
Yep.
It's Tyrone Tracy. Like if I can't get Tyrone Tracy, then I mean I guess like I'm shopping for Keyshawn Boudier.
Yep.
But for me, it's Tyrone Tracy. I did kind of throw out how I am starting to kind of come around the corner on Isaiah Davis with kind of rumors about Breece Hall getting traded, but that's solely dependent on if those Breece Hall rumors come to fruition. We've been hearing that Breece Hall is going to be getting traded forever, so I am kind of interested in that. But that's kind of where my mind is at with the waiver wire this week. Should I drop Nick Chubb and or Cup for Tracy or Hunt? I have 70 fab left out of 100. Which should I go for and how much? You could definitely make a viable case for dropping Chubb. It would be Chubb that I would be dropping, and it would be Tracy that I'm going for. You should probably maybe drop like 35, but you are going to need a little bit of emergency fab for sticky situations in the playoffs. So you kind of really can't go too dumb. Like you can't go too crazy.
I like about a 50% of your budget right here, making a lot of sense. Particularly when you look at the volume opportunity that Tracy has. I don't know how many more better situations. That's horrible English. I don't know how many situations will be better than what Tracy could offer you when you look at what he did last year and when you look at how the running back position has been performing for New York and with his ability to catch passes. I think that all systems are go for waiver wire crash out.
Which tight end is best this week? Ertz, Schultz, Andrews, Fant, Ingram, or Theo? No Cam, and I have Dart or Loveland. Look, if you have Dart, especially with them being without Scattaboo, I feel like that they are going to now. He's going to go to his connection with Theo Johnson and kind of lean on that a little bit more. So I would go Theo Johnson in your particular situation. Start one tight end this week: Henry, Jawan, Fant, Ertz, Theo, Loveland. If this is in regards to the same lineup that you have, it's a toss-up between Theo and Jawan Johnson. You also have Hunter Henry, so fuck. If being that you have Hunter Henry, it's Hunter Henry over everyone. Which two guys should I pick up? Tracy, Hunt, Tank, Singletary, Sampson, Wilson, P. Ryan, Slayton, Malik, Dyke, Watson. Got 80 fab left. Which one or two should I go after and how much? It's for real. It's really Tracy. It's Tracy. If you want to maybe get greedy, you can go after Hunt, but you want to be throwing the bag at Tracy. And like I said, I'm still even with the $80 fab, the dollar amount's not changing. I'm still saying 35.
Can I just say though, holy fuck, Christian Watson 4 for 85.
That's not gonna last.
Could be the alpha.
No. That Christian Watson's gonna look. I'm not even trying to be facetious here. Takes one fucking hit, gone. Hey man, I just traded JSN to get Josh Jacobs and Pittman. My team is now Saquon, Jacobs, Jamar Chase, Pittman, Tet,
Jesus.
Myers, and Aaron Jones, and Henderson and Pearsall on my bench. Thoughts on the trade? That's I mean, that's fair. You didn't need to make a trade, but fair. That's a good trade. That's a good trade.
Yeah, I think that your biggest upside there is you folded 2 players in deep down. I think JSN is just a fucking monster this year.
JSN's on
But
a
I
different
can see you
planet.
want
JSN, for me, it doesn't matter the league format or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
JSN is untradeable for me. Every time someone
because
sends me an offer for JSN, I'm like, I just hit reject immediately. I don't even look at it.
I'd rather wait for like a Tracy type to add to like my running back core or a Spears or one of these guys that we're spec adding and playing up on. But I will say that Pittman has been pretty consistent this season, and Jacobs has been a really good guy as well. So I don't mind the trade, but I'm much like Robbie. It's hard for me to get rid of JSN, but you did get value, you did get quality. You spread out your team, you have Chase, so I don't think it's bad at all. I just think that it really depends on your the way that you play and the way that you feel comfortable. Because some guys feel comfortable adding players all the time. Other guys kind of just like to set their lineup and forget it. And Jacobs is a set it and forget it kind of guy.
Yep. Make sure you give us a follow over on Twitch too, man. Everybody that's been watching on YouTube, make sure you guys give us a subscribe. Yeah, Pittman has been so underrated. He's wide receiver 6 right now. I know he's definitely mad underrated right now. I mean, but that's because Indiana Jones is out there balling out. Really quick, I posted about this earlier, Taco. I don't know if you saw, but I posted about this. Thoughts on the NFL utilizing a referee training academy like type of pipeline situation. I can see the pros and cons of like a former player to referee type of pipeline situation. This conversation idea kind of comes from when I was sitting back, watching Pat McAfee this morning. They kind of started chopping it up with some of the some of the just inequalities in the officiating that we've been seeing over the last. It's really been bad over like the last like 3 weeks. But this week it was just kind of really bad. I mean, you had the fumble situation in the Giants Eagles game. You had the inaudible whistle in the Saints game. You had the 5-inch that should have been a first down, with the whole chip in the ball last night in the Washington KC game. You had we've had multiple infractions with the tush push. We had a situation in the Packers Green Bay game that likely should have been in pre-play.
There's been officiating issues for the all of history. Like, as long as you've had a game, you've had an issue with an official because they're human and subjective calls. I would say that I love the idea of ex-players getting a chance to be refs. I like the opportunity of maybe having like a better grading system on these refs so that we can kind of like mitigate the lower performers and kind of put in some of the better performers, and maybe having a bigger pool where you can put guys on the bench some weeks, you know what I mean? And kind of be like, you're off this week, man. You blew a couple calls. We'll throw you back in there in a little bit, maybe rotate the guys a little bit so they don't have to call every single week. Because again, I want them graded more, which if I start adding just more to the mix as well, I'll be able to kind of like start seeing like, hey, you're gonna ref every 3 weeks, and every 4th week you're off, and kind of just begin to build a better officiating system through instant replay, through AI, through having more talented and better trained people who, one will come up through an academy, and two, have played the game, have been around the game to understand the rules versus just some random, college guy that eventually made his way up and now he's doing NFL, or I don't even necessarily know how they get these NFL reps per se, because I know many of them have had their jobs for like fucking 40 years.
Really quick, BA. I look, when Bucky is back healthy, it's wheels up on Bucky, and I mean, we already know the level that Baker's playing lately. Yeah, I mean, yeah, with Judkins, at the end of the day, it is the Browns. He's a damn good player, damn good back. Yep. But it's Bucky all the way. You'll be starting. Judkins is more of a RB2, a flex position type of guy, in my opinion. To your point, Taco. To your point, Taco. So yeah, I mean, a lot of it is people that that they're NFL refereeing on their part time. When they're like not fighting legal cases, because a lot of them are lawyers, doctors, etc. There is an NFL officiating trading academy. You can apply for it, et cetera, et cetera. They try and find, people that are like of high, like moral standard. But I think like a player to official, like pipeline one. Okay, cool. It helps like creating jobs for like former players, which is awesome, which is fucking great. It's fucking awesome. I do kind of worry about like, holy shit, homie has a CTE episode, and now this motherfucker thinks that he's playing in the game. like that could, kidding jokes. But all jokes aside, I do see how it could be good for like the employment aspect of the former player. I do see how it could be good from the aspect of, hey, this guy definitely knows what defensive PI like should be. Of course there would have to be stipulations. Have to be removed from like the game, for like X amount of years. Can't be officiating a game of which you played for either of the teams involved in that game. I think that it would have to be I think that it'd be great for mainly like the undrafted free agent type of players, who maybe never really got a shot in the first fucking place, so there's no reason for them to have loyalty to any team really in the first place. I think that something like that could maybe be explored with maybe eventually down the line. But I mean, we got to figure out a way to make it better. I mean, because some of the things that took place, like when I was watching some of the examples that they pointed out this morning, when I was watching that show, I was like, damn. I was like, these are things that we don't think about it from a perspective that we don't really think about it. We're happy when it's like, oh, that helped me towards, my bet or towards my fantasy team. But in the aspect of like, hey, these motherfuckers are going out there putting their bodies on the line. Can we at least get a cleanly officiated game? I kind of do understand that aspect about it, at least some type of continuity and consistency. So it's an idea that I think that should be thrown around. We'll talk about it more Friday night, but I just want to kind of, spark that conversation tonight. Things all NFL fans must accept week 8 edition, and we will get out of here. These are things after week 8 that NFL fans should accept. The Baltimore Ravens will win the AFC North. Believe it or not, the Ravens are sitting in 3rd. Okay. And that division's actually closer than you'd expect. The Ravens can still come back and they can still win out. Jordan Love has re-entered the top 10 QB conversation. The Patriots are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Jonathan Taylor is the clear front runner for MVP. The Chiefs are fucking back. George Pickens is not re-signing with Dallas in 2026. That this experiment has crashed and burned after the loss of Denver, it looks like. And Tyler Shaw is not going to be QB1 next season for New Orleans. They're still going to draft a quarterback.
They've been tanking. I'm shocked they're playing this well even.
How do you feel about some of those other sentiments?
I think that it'll be interesting to see what the Steelers have to say about the Ravens, but I was on board with the Ravens taking their path here. Jordan Love, I agree with. It's funny he got Watson back and now he's back in the top 10 conversation. I see what you did there. Chiefs, I don't think they ever left. I think that we were looking at a situation of them just not having weapons. And now that everyone's healthy, we're back to saying these boys are nasty. So no, I don't think that they even left. So you can't say they're back.
Alrighty. Closing thoughts.
I'm intrigued to see how some of these waivers pan out. And I am hoping that we all have a great Thursday night start to our week. Should get started early. Yep. Thursday night football.
AMA session tomorrow night. Make sure that you guys tune in. Same time, same YouTube channel, same Twitch channel. Same damn place. Give us a follow. Hit that like button. If you have questions, you could drop them in the comments. Whenever this video is done. Whenever this live stream is done, you can go back and you could drop comments in the comment section, and we go back and we answer those. Cheers to me. Cheers to you. All the Rum Boys and girls. What to do? Dilly dilly. Arrrr. We outie.
Reaching on the, yeah.